Growing up in Alamosa did not create an easy childhood for Coach Joe Vigil. Resources and opportunities were limited for Latino students, but even at a young age, Vigil knew he would not let this environment stop him from pursuing excellence.
I learned early on that I wanted to beat everybody. So I studied. I was a Boy Scout. I made an Eagle Scout rank, and I learned how to pursue goals. I wanted to be better than anybody else, only to show them that I could do it. And that one quality has stayed with me and has really motivated me.
Early in life, Vigil sought to define his own success. He taught and coached at Alamosa High School for more than a decade before being hired as a track coach at Adams State College in 1965. And that's where he began to make his mark.
People were beating us, and I was getting tired of getting beaten. So I started developing a culture of running in the community. And little by little, after 30 years, that culture developed into a fountainhead of running in America.
At Division II Adams State, Vigil coached 425 All-Americans and helped his team win 19 national team championships and 87 individual titles. Over the past 3 decades, Vigil has made an impact coaching individual runners in international competition, including Olympian Dina Castor and Ryan Shea.
It's not only coaching human performance, I become a life coach to them.
In all, Vigil's professional runners have won 20 world medals in cross country, and he has coached 21 Olympians. But he is especially proud of those athletes who were considered underdogs.
Working with people that nobody wanted to work with for some reason, and I was able to take them and make an Olympian out of them.
As he did with Brenda Martinez, the Californian who ran the 1,500 meters in the 2016 Rio Olympics. Martinez was one of only 2 Latinas on the U.S. track and field team. She is now making a difference in her own community by inspiring young athletes.
That has to be sort of a real satisfaction for me, to show people that somebody that didn't have a fighting chance but believed in herself could do that.
His passion for education has led Vigil to earn 3 master's degrees and a doctorate. He is known in international running circles as the professor of altitude training.
Success in our society is power, money, position, materialism. Those things have become like a religion to Americans. But I teach how to be success through the pursuit of excellence, to be the very best that you can every day of your life.
Winning is the ultimate goal in sports, but for Vigil, continuous improvement is more valuable in the pursuit of excellence.
There are some days that I have good days, some days that I have bad days, but there never is a day that I don't try my best.
What's up, everybody? This is Mr. 100K a day, and today on the biggest hater in track and field, we're going to be talking about the death of the washed up and racist coach, Joe Vigil, who was a founding member of the USATF's Coaches Educational Program. Now, he was a Hall of Fame coach. People consider him being one of the world's leading experts on developing athletes in the middle and long distance events. He just died on Friday, July 19th in Colorado. He was 95 years old. Now, this coach goes way, way, way back, like literally way back. He was born in 1929. He graduated high school in 1948. He had attended Wallace State College. He played football. He did a lot of things in his lifetime. This is literally a guy who had almost seen a whole century of athletic performance, life, and everything in between, everything it has to offer. So when he got his bachelor's degree from ASC in 1953, he began a 12-year stint as a biology teacher and coach at his high school alma mater, where he led teams to 8 state track and field championships. In 1965, he went back to Adams State as the head track and field and cross country coach. And that's when he began the career that everybody mostly knows him for. You know, he spent 28 years at Adams State, and he got 19 national team titles, 87 individual national titles for the athletes there, and he produced 425 All-American honorees, and he was named National Cross Country Coach of the Year 13 times. So through all of that, though, just like anybody who is born in the 20s, particularly white guys, he was a known racist. Definitely a known racist. And I don't know if I could hold it against him. If I was born in 1929 as a white guy, it may have been embedded in me to operate and think the same way. And also, let's not forget, he is Latino. Definitely Latino. He liked to specialize in picking Latino athletes to bring along. I believe he was Mexican, from my understanding. And everybody knows the genetic history of Mexicans, of most Latinos. They don't do well in sports. They don't do that well in sports. They have to do well in things like soccer. And of course, we know how they treat black athletes in soccer, throwing banana peels at them, throwing bananas at them on the field. So I remember back in 2013, he coached Brenda Martinez to a bronze medal at the 2013 World Championships. And he really took a lot of pride in that particular athlete because she was Hispanic, because she was Mexican. Brenda Martinez actually was just named last week to be assistant coach at USC, University of Southern California, to be a distance and cross country coach, assistant coach she's going to be. So, that's where she is now. She's, of course, retired from running. She's a mother now, had a few kids. So that's where she is now. And that was one of the things in which he really honed in on, is trying to breed Mexican athletes or Hispanic athletes to be better. He ignored the genetic deficiencies that some people have and tried to work around them. At the same time, people also forget back in 1987, the comments he made, the comments that were attributed to him. He said that he was misquoted, but I don't believe he was misquoted. Back in 1987, there was a big uproar just before the 1988 Olympics. And he spoke about, black athletes. He spoke about the reason why black athletes don't do well in distance running. And what he said was pretty shocking, because I felt as if in reading his statements that either he was, like I say, inherently biased against black athletes, because we've seen in the last 40 years almost since these statements were made that he's full of it. His statements, if you guys aren't aware of, he basically was saying that black athletes in the United States were too lazy to be great at distance running because of the amount of work that needs to be put in and to be a great distance runner, middle distance runner, or long distance runner. And, he turned around and denied the statements. Of course, if you read the articles from the LA Times and from the New York Times and all the newspaper articles back in 1987, when the statements were first made, it was kind of funny because he was completely wrong. I think that his statements were more rooted in jealousy and racism than it was in fact. He made these statements in the November issue of the City Sports magazine, and he was pretty thorough when he said, he talked about how minorities lack determination, how minorities are lazy, minorities don't want to work hard, how choosing the sprint events is the easiest thing to do, which anybody who understands track and field, anybody who understands sprinting and distance running, you'd much rather be a distance runner than a sprinter. I'm telling you, being a sprinter is, the weightlifting, the plyometrics, the sprinting, the 300 intervals, the everything. It is much easier on the body to do long distance runner than it is to do short distance runner. As a matter of fact, you don't really hear about distance runner get pulled hamstrings. Now, they may have a bone fracture. You can have things that come from overtraining and just the deterioration of the body. That's just going to be the wear and tear. But sprinters get much more damage to their body. And it is much more difficult to be a sprinter than it is to be a distance runner. And not only that, I think he also ignores the fact that the overwhelming majority of the black athletes in the United States, particularly in his time, let's remember this was back in 1987 when immigration was a lot slower than it is was a lot slower than it is now. The overwhelming majority of black athletes in the United States, particularly 1987, were descendants of slaves. Everybody knows that the overwhelming majority of descendants of slaves are athletes of West African origin. Everybody also knows that athletes of West African origin typically don't have the body type for distance run or even middle distance running. The West African derived athletes, really, we have much more thicker bodies. We have bodies that are more designed for explosive movements than maybe some of the East African athletes, like people who derive from like Ethiopia, Mozambique, some of those other, well, not really Mozambique. Let's look at Kenya, Somalia, those types of countries. So for him to make those statements that he made, it was just really ridiculous. And the International Olympic Committee, of course, conducted, the International Committee, the International Competition Committee of the Athletic of Congress, which is basically now USATF. They did an investigation of him, and ultimately they reaffirmed his status as an Olympic coach, and he basically backtracked on everything he said. He made it seem like that the magazine basically misquoted him or lied on him. Specifically, he was quoted as saying, "Minorities don't want to pay the price to be long distance runners. They're not ingrained with the work ethic it takes to be a long distance runner. Being a sprinter is the easy way out. Being a road runner is a lonely job with lots of hard training and a Spartan existence. These people don't want to work hard at anything." That's what they said. That's what they quoted him as saying. I believe he said it. Of course, when he tried to back out of it, they said he was shocked that they wrote the article the way they did. He said, "I, of course, told them about minorities who have succeeded. All runners who succeed pay the price. They made it sound like all minorities aren't willing to pay the price, and that's not the case at all." So what he really was saying, because his career really is a representation of that, you really don't see a lot of big name or really a lot of black athletes or African athletes he trained anyway. Like I said, his biggest athletes that he have on his resume are Mexican athletes, Hispanic athletes, white athletes. Just check his resume. So what he's really saying was that, black athletes, African athletes don't want to put the work in to be distance runners, which we all know is crap. I just played the video, Bernard Lagat. There are many other black athletes, African athletes, that have shown that, black athletes could put it down. Definitely could put it down. And him being born in 1927 or whenever that was, 19 whatever, I feel like it's what we expect. Definitely expected him to say some crap like that. And him trying to backtrack of probably was about him just saving his job, saving his position as an Olympic coach. And I understand he was stupid. A lot of people from his generation are stupid. They're still stupid now. He's not even white, but he was surrounded by this type of culture growing up, I'm sure. And he probably inherited a lot of jealousy, a lot of anger, resentment towards athletes who automatically had, by virtue of their genetics, already had talent and a natural ability to do a lot better than what he did, because he played football and he ran track, but he was dumpster juice. Like I said, I don't trust or believe any of those other coaches. If you're not black, well, not coaches, I'm sorry, athletes from the 1940s or 50s, or any of those, Jim Thorpe, any of those guys, because if you have competed when black athletes were not being able to compete or didn't have at least equal access to the resources, schools, and opportunities, then you stood out because of a lack of real competition, not because you was a hell of a guy. So Coach Vigil's dead now. He's dead. Joe Vigil, to me, he's not a good coach. He was trash. He was just part of the good old institution that allowed him to exist and be around for a long time. But it's a new era now. It's better for me, I feel like, because the sooner we get these old, washed up, racist people out the game, the sooner the new era will come in. The new generation will come in, and things will definitely change structurally for USATF, for the governing body for track and field in general. And you will start to see really the United States black athletes could really dominate middle distance events. Definitely middle distance without having to import from Africa, all of our best middle distance runners like a Thing Mo, like Bernard Lagat, like Nagoose. That's really what it come down to. Tell me what you guys think. He made these comments back in 1987, but some people may say, "Oh, Mr. 100K a day, the man comments are 40 years old." No, his comments ain't 40 years old. His mentality lasted with him until the day that he died. So, R.I.P., but I won't miss him at all. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Mr. 100K a day, another episode of the biggest hater in track and field. Till next time, y'all. Peace.